when people read the first 5 books of the Bible, there are only some chapters that kind of really upset folks. There are quite a few chapters that bore people. Start out in the book of Numbers, you'll find some of those. But by the time you get to the 5th book, Deuteronomy, you kind of have a more organized source. The final editor who put those 5 books together pulled in a lot of a common perspective in Deuteronomy. And the author, basically speaking, kind of feeling like the author is representing Moses' point of view, conveys this picture that while there are little teeny elements in it that might stress us out and feel uncomfortable, much of which would feel more like our modern, maybe Methodist spirituality, which is a lot about how we connect to God and let God connect us to the rest of the planet. There are parts of the book of Deuteronomy that I certainly don't connect to very well, and you probably wouldn't either. But there are also many parts that really raise the question of how deep, how wide spirituality can become. And I do appreciate that. I also appreciate the fact that scholars have isolated many, many sources that were drawn in by some final editor to give us the first 5 books of the Bible. God bless that final editor who drew all of that in. It's probably many, countless sources that sometimes get reduced down to 3 or 4. The Deuteronomist might have come real late in the story of the Jewish family. But the questions began to be, how do I live this? How do I be this? This story that you see in Genesis 2 and 3 where God is that simple, intimate connector. Or the story you see in Genesis 1 through the Elohist where God is the big picture, massive dynamic in the universe. Or the story you see in the priestly writers who conveyed this necessary tug inside of us for the sacrifices and challenges that worship actually brings toward us. To finally, how do I make that mine in the Deuteronomy and Deuteronomist material? That final editor took all of those voices, and they are disparate, and if you've read the first 5 books of the Bible, you sometimes it feels like pinball. You suddenly change gears altogether and move into way different perspectives, and yet when you're done, you know some final editor took those 5 or created those 5 books that we know because that person heard God through many, many sources. I hope you do too. You are one of those sources for people around you. And you are love first.